All right, so welcome back into Humbabe. It's going to be episode 7, and I've been long awaiting this episode because we're going to go over the NL East, and our special guest is here today to go over it with us. So without further ado, we're just going to bring the guest right in, and that's going to be my former teammate, Aiden Paulak of Millennium Baseball and John Jay Baseball, and now a D1 left-handed arm for the Binghamton Bearcats, who's humming it at the top of the zone, that 90 poop, but it's getting right by you, and then he's buckling that 12-6 curveball and mixing in the left-handed change. So,
yeah,
AP,
sir.
How's it going?
What's up, Sinder? What's up, guys?
What's up?
Pleasure to be on the podcast. I've been tuned into the TikTok, so I had to get on.
All right, so let's start up with the first question. I just want to ask you, what is a day in the life as a D1 pitcher like? Like, when are you waking up? What are you eating? What lifts are you doing? Because I know there's some misinformation about lifting, I guess, stuff like that.
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. I'm not my wake up schedule is a little messed up, so it's pretty dependent on my class schedule. But I think most amateur pitchers and youth pitchers are probably undersized. So for me, a day of eating is definitely trying to get into a core surplus because I'm trying to put on weight. So I'm probably, for me, I'm just have to eat at least 4 meals a day. Otherwise, I'm probably not hitting my maintenance calories and I'm losing weight. So it's kind of however I can get the calories in. I'm not too picky about that at this point, because then I'm not some MLB guy who's needs to be really specific about what he eats and tracks his micros and macros or whatnot. But I'm right now I'm lifting 4 days a week. I have an upper day, lower day, do that twice, and I'm following the Cressy workout program that I had. So it's pretty catered towards me, and I think for me the biggest thing is I'm just trying to build general strength, and obviously I think the biggest thing is you just have to obviously there's better and worse programs, but I think the biggest thing is you have to commit to a program for an extended period of time to actually see results from it. So you can't really I'm gonna try this one day, I'm gonna try that one day and expect results. I think the biggest thing is regardless of what your program is, you really have to commit for a certain amount of months if you want to see any change in terms of that aspect.
Gotcha. And then, are you doing any pitcher specific stuff?
Yeah, I definitely do. So I think Cressy is pretty big on activating certain muscles in the shoulder. So they have a lot of these things. We use valve slides, and we'll do a lot of upwards rotation shoulder slides and trying to activate certain things like the serratus anterior in your shoulder. And then obviously single leg strength is important, quintessential. So I'm doing a lot of lunging, split squat, things of that nature. And I think that just in general, I'm just trying to get especially in season, I'm trying to get my body to feel good. I have to maintain shoulder strength, and especially after I throw a high intensity throwing day, I'm trying to regain full range of motion almost immediately. And so certain things that that, and obviously I'm balancing out my lifts with my throwing intensity. So I'm trying to not overstrain my body, but I think being smart about that stuff is definitely what's going to keep you healthy, or at least give you the best chance to stay healthy.
And then building on the Cressy sports performance stuff, I know we talked about you throwing with Richard Blyer, pro guy. Now he's on the Red Sox, just got traded. And then between him and Max Scherzer, who's there, and Tristan McKenzie and all the other pro guys there, what are you taking away from them? And when you're talking to them, what kind of stuff are you picking their brain for?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is how meticulous they are about their training. And especially I noticed that right away with Verlander, because he came in the facility and it was I want to say literally probably a week after the parade for the it was he did an evaluation the first day he was there, and it was so he was so locked in, and it was this dude literally just won a Cy Young, and it's a week later and he's 39 years old and he's ready to get back after it. And I think the other biggest thing I took away is that a lot of these pro guys, once you have 5, 10, 15 years of professional pitching under your belt, and even some guys who are younger than that, they know their bodies and who they are so well. It's it's absurd. So Richard Blyer, for example, he's not someone I think he doesn't follow the traditional, he doesn't long toss. That's one of his things, because he likes to just throw it on a line every day. And so I think like he knows like he can tell like right away when a pitch is not moving like how it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be just in catch play. And like he's really aware of like who he is as a pitcher. Like he's a sinker guy, has a cutter, mixes in a breaking ball. And I think that like certain youth pitchers are like maybe they try to replicate something they see, and a lot of times like they try to copy an MLB pitcher or something like that. And I think that that could be beneficial, that could help you, but also like maybe not. Maybe your body's not built to throw a certain pitch, and like you're not meant to like apply force in the baseball that certain type of way. However, like these guys have it down to like a T as to like what they want to do and how they're going to go about executing certain things.
Oh, for sure. So that's all I got. So now we can just get right into the NL East, and we'll start with the Mets. So Alex, you want to get going?
He can start.
All right, yeah,
You know my opinion on the Mets?
yeah. I
Yeah.
want your opinion on the Mets.
All right. I think that Verlander is going to have followed up with another Cy Young year. I'm calling it right now. I think Verlander's stuff plays an elite level. He has great carry on his fastball, multiple dominant off-speed pitches, and I think that he's aged like fine wine, especially with his like this was his first year coming back from a UCL injury, and I think if anything, that pitchers the more time they get following UCL, especially within like his recovery, like he was pitching at such an elite level, like I guess relatively early into the UCL recovery, but I think like he's gonna, if anything, he's gonna be better, if not the same as he was last year. So I have utmost faith in him. I'm hoping Scherzer is good, but I mean, the playoffs last year definitely scared me with Scherzer. I think he's a big pronation guy. He has a great changeup, so that's something that should play well. Like even if his fastball somewhat falls off with his age. I think Cody Senga, another good arm. Hoping, I know he has some like it's been very hit or miss with international pitchers in the past decade or so, but I think that overall, like the pressure is pretty low relative to where he is in the staff. So I think he'll round out the rotation really well. I think that we have a lot of bats that play, so I'm very confident that the Mets are going to be the first place in the NL East, and I think that this is finally our year. Stevie Cohen wants to do it. Braves, they scare me. They always scare me because I'm always like they're gonna like in the back of my head. I always have a feeling that Braves are just gonna break my heart and just absolutely violate the Mets come down to September. But I think that they obviously have like a studs. I know I saw you picked Austin Riley like to lead the league in home runs, and I think that's honestly like a pretty fair prediction. I do think Michael Harris is due to regress a little bit hitting offensively. I mean, I do think he's an elite player, but like the sophomore slump is definitely a real thing, and I think he's due for it, and he could be a candidate for it. I think that losing Dansby Swanson is a huge loss to their identity. So, I mean, obviously they have retained a lot of their young talent, and they obviously Sean Murphy is a big pickup, which coupled with Darno, I mean, that's the one like glaring advantage I would say that they have over the Mets. That like until the Mets bring up Alvarez, their catching position is literally just a black hole in the lineup. But I think that the Braves will finish in second for sure, and I think they're a pretty stacked team, especially for the future with the contracts they've negotiated. Like Ozzy Albies is probably a top 10 most valuable player in baseball because of his contract. And then I think that moving on to the Phillies. I think the Phillies. I'm not really overly impressed with the Phillies. Like Harper is out for a while. That's pretty scary. And I think that they have like Taijuan Walker is a good pickup, but I don't think he's an amazing pitcher. I think I saw with the Mets last year, like he had some inconsistencies. Especially in the second half, he's always like been a first half pitcher. Like well, from what I've seen of him on the Mets, and I think that definitely scares me. I think that obviously Trey Turner is a superstar, but I don't think he's gonna carry the offense, and I think that he's gonna struggle a little bit, like with Bryce Harper out. So I think that, I mean, yeah, I would say they're pretty comparable to last year, and they would have to catch fire again. The Marlins, I actually think the Marlins are kind of sick. Like I think their roster, like they probably have some of the growth in terms of just pure stuff. They probably have some of the grossest starting pitching. I think that like obviously Alcantara is like unreal pitcher. Like he's not just like someone who's like. There's a lot of starters now who have pretty unreal stuff and they're flashing high velos, but like his ability to like hold his velo and like hold his stuff throughout 7, 8, 9 innings is pretty unprecedented in this current age. So I think that like if you're trying to build a team, he's probably someone like who you're picking up like very early if you're like a fantasy draft perspective, starting all over again. And I think they have some other exciting players. Like obviously, like losing Pablo Lopez kind of sucks for them, but I mean they have other like great arms. Like Jesus Luzardo has unreal stuff. Sixto Sanchez, he's coming back. He has pretty unreal stuff. And then like the two bats they added, like Luis Arias and Gene Segura, have great bat to ball skills, which I think will always play to some extent. And so I think it'll be exciting to see what Jazz Chisholm will do with that, like more protection in that lineup. Nationals, I think they're miserable. Like to be blunt, like I think their roster is terrible. They don't really have a lot of exciting players. A lot of the prospects that they were pretty highly touted never really turned out. Victor Robles kind of stinks. Dominic Smith never panned out. Well, he's a Mets prospect, but he's always been terrible, and I hated watching him on the Mets. Like I always had hope that he would like finally break out. He's a nice swing and whatever, but he just never did it. And I think that like honestly, I'm not entirely impressed with a lot of their bigger prospects now, like Kate Cavalli. I don't think he's particularly impressive. I do think Josiah Gray is a very good pitcher, but other than that, I think their roster is pretty terrible.
Dr. Heenan guy.
Yeah, he is a big Dr. Heenan. He's a Cressy guy too, actually.
Oh, yeah, I was pretty spot on. Alex, you got it.
All right, so starting off with the Mets. Actually, before I start, I know this camera quality is terrible, and the lighting is terrible as well. But I'll be back in my room in like a week, so this is only a temporary setup. So apologize if the quality's bad, but we're getting through it. First off, the Mets, just a bunch of good players all around the ball field, all around the diamond. Like there's no really like black hole in my opinion. Like catcher, they signed Narvaez, who I think is a really solid catcher, and especially after seeing McCann and Ito last year, that's like an actual black hole. And they have so much depth too. Like Tommy Pham signed to be a backup. Darren Ruff, I know he was terrible last year, but I still think Darren Ruff is a lefty masher. He'll be good this year. And Francisco Alvarez too, top prospect. I think he should be a timeshare with Narvaez, but I don't know why Nito is still there. I think it's for his defensive abilities. Starting pitching, they have a lot of depth. I'm not too sold on Quintana, Carrasco. I think they're kind of like washed in my opinion. I know Quintana had a bounce back year last year, but I just don't see it repeating again. And Carrasco, like he's gonna give a home run. He gets hit hard a lot. Like he was a good pitcher in Cleveland, but there's a lot of red flags for him moving forward. And Senga is just an unknown at this point. But I mean, in case you have injuries, which is gonna happen with like when you have pitchers, old pitchers like Scherzer and Verlander, you have good depth. You have McGill, Peterson, Lucchesi. Like it's just a really good team all around. I don't think Francisco Lindor is a superstar in my opinion, but he's still a very good player. And yeah, Mets are gonna be a good team, but I don't know if they're gonna be the best team in baseball in my opinion. But they're gonna be a very, very good team.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Mets are a very good team, and I think the lineup is terrific. I think their two worst offensive positions are third base and catcher, which they're kind of going to fill with Beatty and Alvarez at some point this season. And then pitching, come on, it's ridiculous. It's very good. Well, it's pretty good. Seventh best team ERA last year, and of course you're going Scherzer, Verlander, and Senga. And I'm very high on Senga. I believe in him a lot. His stuff looks filthy. But again, I'm pretty concerned about the 4-5 with Carrasco and Quintana, like you said, Alex. Carrasco, he hasn't been very good in a few years. Fastball kind of got crushed last year. And then Quintana, he hasn't been good aside from last year, each of the past 4 seasons. So I don't know, for him, I really don't know if that's repeatable. And his quality of contact wasn't great. And the bullpen's very good, obviously Edwin Diaz. But you had Brooks Raley, Robertson, it'll be a very solid bullpen, probably top 5 maybe. So in that respect, I'm not concerned. But in terms of the Braves are just a really good team competing for the division. That back 4-5 is I think they're going to be the issue down the stretch.
Yeah, I forgot to talk about the bullpen, but like it's a solid. I wouldn't say it's elite. Like Diaz, there's no way he has the year he did last year, right? There's no way he repeats it. Ottavino cut down his walks by a lot. He'll be solid. Robertson, always loved him as a Yankee. He's a great reliever. Brooks Raley, in my opinion, one of the most underrated relievers in baseball. He was really good for the Rays last year. But I don't know. I could see his team like not living up to expectations. Like I feel like they have a bunch of players due for regression. Like they'll still be a good team regardless, but like McNeil had a really bad 2021 and really bounced back in 2022, and I see him more as a player in between those two seasons. And like Marte, can he do it again? He's about to be 34. It's just there's some regression candidates here, in my opinion, that could see his team not live up to expectations, but they'll still make the playoffs. So like that's not gonna be a worry. It's just will this team be the best in baseball? And I can't say for sure.
I mean, one thing I didn't mention is I think this team is very different than Mets teams from the past that kind of blow things in the fact that, I mean, Buck was there last year, but Buck and then Steve Cohen, I feel like the ownership and the front office is kind of setting a new precedent for the Mets, even though they did kind of fumble the division last year. I mean, I'm a big Buck guy. I like him. So I don't think the Mets are going to be as kind of the way they've been in past seasons in terms of blowing stuff. I think that's kind of going to turn. But I just don't know if they're good enough to beat the Braves out. We'll talk about the Braves later, but offensively, they have the third lowest K rate, second highest on base. So that's kind of, I'm taking that from like the approach as a team. They're not going to strike out very much. They're going to put the ball in play. They're not going to be top 5 in home runs, middle of the pack in home runs probably, but they're still going to slug top 10. The offense will be totally fine. But that's just the approach that's different than that of the Phillies, for instance, or the Braves, actually. The Braves are very strikeout heavy, but sell out for home runs. So it's just a different type of team. But offensively, it'll be very good. Top to bottom, especially when they fill those 2 holes with Beatty and Alvarez when they come up, assuming they're going to come up and be good. And then we already talked about the rotation, pitching-wise and bullpen.
All right, should we move on to the next team?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I said all the teams already. I didn't know I was supposed to go
No,
one
you're
by
chilling.
one. Yeah, my fault.
What team you want to do next, Sam?
Are we going to the Braves? No.
All right, let's go to the Braves.
Okay.
You got it first, Sam, if you want.
All right. So this Braves team, I think, is insanely good. Near that, I think the Astros are elite this year. I think the Braves might be even better. So obviously, like you said, AP losing Dansby is going to be a huge loss, but I think they're filling the hole pretty well with Vaughn Grissom, 21 years old, great rookie season, but it was in a small sample size. And then you're looking at the rest of this team. They really didn't lose much aside from Dansby. Offensively, second in home runs, 9th in on base, first in slugging, second highest exit velo. So that tells me personally that the offense is for real. Second highest hard hit rate. And then I think Acuna is going to bounce back big time. He's going to get back to where he was. He's going to be healthy. Matt Olson, 34 home runs last year. Alex you said he was going to be second highest home runs this year. Austin Riley, my home run leader. And then Sean Murphy, top 5 catcher. Pairing that with Darnell, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris. Even if Harris regresses a little bit, still terrific. And then Ozuna. And then Rosario is probably only below average hitter in this lineup. So in terms of offensively, this might be the best offense in baseball. And then just a side note for the longevity of this team's not going to be good for just 1 year. This team's going to be good for maybe the next 5-10 years because of what they've done to lock up these players long term. Austin Riley, 10 years, $212 million. Olsen, 8 for 168. Acuna, 8 for 100. Strider, 6 for 75. Sean Murphy, 6 for 3. Michael Harris, 8 for 72. Ozuna, 4 for 65. Rafael Iglesias, 4 for 58. And then Albies, 7 for 35. That's 9 players locked up for at least 4 years, some of which 8+ years. And those are star players. So I think that's how teams should manage their roster, especially with young talent. And I don't think enough teams do it. It's pretty unique to the Braves, honestly, in how they do it. And then pitching-wise, second best team ERA last year, 3.46. And then I like the starting rotation a lot with obviously Strider, huge last year, 2.67 ERA. Whip was under 1. Over 200 Ks in only 130 innings. Ridiculous 99th percentile in K rate. And then Max Fried, very solid, 2.48 ERA. Kyle Wright, 3.19, just holding it down. And then Charlie Morton, he had a 4.34 ERA last year, but still very much believe in Charlie Morton. He's just a pro. And then the fifth guy is Ian Anderson, who had a 5 ERA, so that's not good. But we've seen him pitch well. I think he can bounce back pretty well. And then if he doesn't turn out, Huascar is there. So I have a lot of confidence in this rotation. And the bullpen was third best FIP last year with Iglesias and Minter, McHugh, Kirby Yates. This team, top to bottom, is like insanely good. So I'm really high on the Braves this year.
Adding on to you, Sam, I absolutely love this Braves team. Starting with the offense, like you said, there's no really one black hole besides I guess Rosario can be considered a black hole, but like he had vision issues last year and it seemed like he fixed it. And Ozuna's kind of a black hole, but I think they're gonna put d'Arnaud at DH whenever he doesn't catch, not Ozuna. But like top to bottom, this team's insane offensively. Like Riley and Olsen, probably one of top 3 corner duos in the MLB besides like Goldschmidt and Arenado, I would say. They acquired Sean Murphy, a top 5 catcher in my opinion. He absolutely rakes, and he plays an elite defense for a catcher. And the pitching, the foursome of Fried, Wright, Moore, and Strider is up there as one of the best. Like I absolutely love Spencer Strider. He only throws 2 pitches, basically fastball, slider, but they tunnel each other like so well. And like for someone his size, he just throws so hard. It's so impressive to me. He's like a pitcher that truly uses his like legs to generate his velo. And Kyle Wright, he broke out last year. I think he's for real in my opinion. I think he made a lot of notable changes to his arsenal, and the results are all real. Like 3.19 ERA last year, but the peripherals 3.30 xFIP, 3.58 FIP. He's legit. And Ian Anderson, like you said, cannon for bounce back. He wasn't great last year, but he was a key part of their World Series winning team in 2021. And if he doesn't pan out, Mike Soroka is back, and he's a big question mark. But when Mike Soroka was healthy, he was one of the best young pitchers in baseball. And as for a bullpen, it's elite. Like Iglesias, Minter, McHugh, they're good top 3. They signed Joe Jimenez in free agency. He was really good last year. Dylan Lee, their lefty specialist, was amazing last year as well. 2.13 ERA. So overall, this team has no glaring hole. Like they're just good all around. It's gonna be like an elite team in my opinion.
To add to what you said about Strider, actually, like I think that although he's a 2-pitch pitcher, which is like kind of unconventional for a starter, I think that like he's pretty set up to be a perennial Cy Young candidate for the next foreseeable future, like decade probably. And I think that like that all comes down to is that his fastball is such an outlier pitch, like tread athletics. Like I don't know, they call it like a triple threat fastball because it's like a culmination of outlier metrics. So I mean, his velocity is obviously elite, but that's also coupled with like a crazy vertical approach angle, and then he has like unreal carry on his fastball, so it's virtually untouchable. And then also his slider is like is very comparable to DeGrom's slider. It's a little bit slower and it has, I believe, a little more depth and horizontal movement. And I'm sure he doesn't execute it quite as well, but just that coupled together is like unreal. And like he won't be hittable on certain nights when he's locked in.
And he's throwing that fastball like 67% of the time. So
Yeah.
it's not
Crazy, yeah. You can't touch it. Like most of his Ks were on the fastball last year.
Yeah, I mean, like that's obviously the new thing, like the new wave of pitching is that you're chasing outlier metrics. Like you want your fastball either below 10 inches of vertical break, so you're getting sink on it, or you want it in the upper teens 20. And like I haven't seen his TrackMan or whatever it is, but I'm sure his induced vertical break is like at 95 percentile plus. It's ridiculous. Like people are swinging under his fastball at a rate that I haven't seen.
You have anything else to add, Sam?
No, I'm good. Are we so we're good on the Braves?
Yeah. Next team, you want to talk about the Marlins?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, you go first.
Okay, so AP, you mentioned this earlier. I love this Marlins pitching staff. I think I'm not sure if it's top. It might be top 5. It's insanely good. Starting pitching, not bullpen. Starting pitching. Between Alcantara, Luzardo, I think Edward Cabrera is extremely good. And then Taylor Rogers can get back to kind of where he was a couple of years ago. He'll be very good. And then ignore Cueto. Cueto's not going to be very good, but if they replace him with Sixto Sanchez and then Yuri Perez coming up, Max Meyer coming up,
Max Meyer tore his UCL, so he's out for the year. This
did he
year as
really?
well.
Damn.
Yeah, he tore in
He's
this like.
he's actually a Cressy guy, and I know I think he must be throwing by now because he had his brace off and stuff like while I was there, which was November. But I'm sure he's not pitching yet. Yeah, but he's
Okay,
definitely on his road to recovery.
Even without Meyer, still Alcantara, Luzardo, Cabrera, Rogers, Sixto Sanchez, and Yuri Perez. Even you get rid of Rogers, you're still those five are just insane. Alex, you called Yuri Perez the next Alcantara. I could see it honestly. This stuff is ridiculous. And then Alcantara 2.28 ERA last year. And I personally, I've already kind of said this when I talked about him as my Cy Young pick. The way he just eats innings and goes deep into games, 6 complete games, it's not really seen as much in baseball anymore, which I like to see. And then Luzardo, his stuff is elite, a lot of swing and miss. Still kind of trying to fix the walk problem, but when he's in the zone, like almost unhittable. And then Edward Cabrera is a guy I think will break out this year. 3.01 ERA last year, but just easy cheese up in the zone. And then like Alcantara and like some of those other Marlins pitchers, the changeup is 93 and sometimes 95, which is, I mean, it could be good and bad, but for him, I think it's really good because it just it's like an outlier, I guess. And then, but it still has movement. And then a changeup at 93, like who's hitting that? And then he does have a little bit of a walk problem, but he's still young. I think you can figure it out. 86 percentile in whiff, so he's getting guys to swing and miss. And then Rogers wasn't good last year, 5.47 ERA, but we've seen him be good. I think that he could get back to where he was, but even if he doesn't, I'll just ignore him and go to Sanchez, who we've already seen him be electric. And I'm just waiting for him to try to stay healthy the whole year. He'll have an innings limit for sure, but I think he's going to have a nice resurgence. And then Yuri Perez. So that starting staff is insane. But the problem for the Marlins is offensively just terrible. This team is terrible offensively. They have no power at all, except for maybe Brian De La Cruz, who's a breakout candidate of mine. 430 slug, and he was incredibly unlucky last year. But if we go up and down this lineup, Josh Chisholm, fine, but best hitter. But then Jorge Soler wasn't really good. Arise is very good. High contact guy, 375 on base, which is insane. Very good. 100 percentile on K and whiff rate, so he's not going to strike out. But he doesn't hit for power. Gary Cooper, not very good. Obviously, El Garcia, not very good anymore. Joey Wendell, Jacob Stallings. I mean, John Birdie's going to steal bases, but he's not going to be very good offensively. So that's the problem with the Marlins. If they had a good lineup, this team would be insanely good.
Yeah, so starting with the offense, they had absolutely no power. Their highest home run total last year was Jesus Aguilar, who had 15 home runs. But I thought that they did like a good job addressing the offense this offseason. Like they added major league hitters. Like that's all you need. So they added Segura, who's a league average bat, but that's an upgrade on what they had before. They traded for Arise, who's an elite hitter in my opinion, and you're hoping on bounce backs from Avi Sail, and you're hoping for breakouts from players like De La Cruz. And I could see them putting it together to have a respectable offense this year. Nick Forts is an underrated catcher in my opinion. I don't know why Stallings is projected to be starting over him right now. I think Forts should be the starting catcher at this moment. And Garrett Cooper, in my opinion, at first base is really underrated. So this offense isn't that. I mean, it's bad, but there's upside. Based on the moves they made this offseason. And you can't forget about Soler, World Series MVP 2021, insane power. Like he can bounce back as well. And the pitching is going to be elite. Like Alcantara is going to man that staff. Luzardo's insane. Cabrera has insane. They all have insane stuff besides Cueto. So, and Yuri Perez is probably going to come up during the summer, in my opinion. So this starting pitching is going to be elite like it was last year. And the bullpen is just, I mean, it was upgraded. They added Matt Barnes. I mean, he wasn't great, Matt Barnes, last year, but he's had good performances in the past. And Tanner Scott. Oh, wait, why am I saying Tanner Scott? He's ass. AJ Puck. They traded for AJ Puck. That's what I meant to say. AJ Puck had a really good year last year. And, yeah, I mean, it's an upgrade. They upgraded their team. It wasn't any big moves, but they got major league players, which is what they didn't have last year.
Yeah. I mean, they strike out the 5th most last year, 3rd worst on base, 3rd worst slug. I mean, if you're right and the offense has improved this year, then I guess they'll have a respectable year. But I think it's going to be the pitching might just go to waste, which is going to suck to see. And I don't love the bullpen. So when they're going to play in tight, they're going to be in every game because of the pitching. Starting pitching is going to keep them in the games. But the concern is when they're in these tight one-run games and the bullpen late in games is going to just blow everything. And then they'll just be losing walk-offs, late games. And then when you're blowing the lead late, you have less time to come back, that's why I kind of prefer when you have a starting pitching problem rather than a bullpen problem. And then, yeah, that's defensively they weren't very good either, but it's okay.
Yeah, so my concern is that this team still has absolutely no power, but like the bats are better. Like Segura and Arise are upgrades from what they had last year, but they have no power. Like, where's your power coming from? Jazz Chisholm, like Soler, he's boomer bust. He didn't have a good year last year, so that's my only concern about the Marlins and the bullpen. But I feel like the bullpen has a lot of high upside arms. So.
Okay. Go with the
Alright.
Marlins.
Yeah, let's move on to one of the worst teams in baseball. Oh my god. I can't wait.
You got it. You start.
You guys, yeah. I had to find the paper.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll just say it. I think this team is the worst team in baseball. I think this team is atrocious. The Nationals. Yeah, terrible. They added really no one. I mean, Dom Smith, Jeter Downs, I guess. But Heimer Candelario. But yeah, it's going to be bad. So the 3rd least home runs, 3rd worst exit velo offensively. Let's look at this lineup. It's just atrocious. Like, who's in this lineup? You're talking about, like, I guess, who's their best hitter offensively? I don't even.
Probably Corey Dickerson or Joey Meneses.
Like,
Yeah.
everyone else just dog shit. And then they have no one to, like, state. Like, last year, they had Nelson Cruz for half a year. They had Josh Bell for half a year. There's no, like, stabilizing in this lineup. I guess you could say Candelario, but he sucks. Lane Thomas is leading off. Like, Corey Dickerson. Just run through the lineup. Keibert Ruiz, C.J. Abrams, Victor Robles, Luis Garcia. There's nothing here. And then pitching-wise, it might be even worse. They had the 2nd worst team ERA last year at 5. And then I have major concerns about if they even have the arms to throw the innings because, let's go through the rotation. The ace is going to be Josiah Gray, who is a professional home run server at this point. ERA of 5. He gave up 38 home runs last year. He's a walk problem, 6th percentile on barrel rate. And then he's not even the worst because then you go Patrick Corbin, who was just probably the worst pitcher in baseball last year, 6.31 ERA. He's not the same from years ago. He had a 1.7 whip. He was the 1st percentile in expected slugging, 1st percentile in xERA, 4th in barrel rate, 7th in hard hit, and he can't K guys. He just can't get anyone out. And then I like Mackenzie Gore. I mean, I'm just waiting for him to break out, but he still had a 4.5 ERA last year, 5.2 xERA. He's good, 95 plus velo, good stuff, I guess, but huge walk problem. And he hasn't been generating swing and miss very well. He's 4th percentile in chase rate, so again, not getting swing and miss. And then Trevor Williams is a fake starter. He had 89 innings last year.
Fake
He
starter.
had 3.2 ERA, which is good, but I mean, is he going to be able to do it throughout a full season? And if he's the best, he's just a spot filler, and he's your best guy. And then Cade Cavalli, like you said, AP is a prospect, number 2 in the organization. At least you're getting him the opportunity to show something because who else? Like, you're going to suck anyway. Let him at least show something. 96, 99 velo, living at the top of the zone. But he can struggle with the command, so I'll just be excited to watch him if I'm a Nats fan. And then the bullpen's atrocious. Like 6th worst fit, won't even get it. Best reliever is probably Rainey, and he's injured right now. And then defensively, 2nd worst defensive run saved, negative 47. So, it's terrible.
Okay.
Pretty sure Patrick Corbin's slider was definitely top 5 worst pitches in baseball, like by run value. I think it was top 3, but like that is like literally you talk about like a home run machine. Patrick Corbin's slider is like BP front toss. It's really bad.
Yeah, so adding on to you, Sam, this offense, oh my God. They don't have one good hitter in this lineup besides maybe Joey Meneses. They've had a 156 WRC plus, but it was over 56 games. So, like, can you do it over a full year? We'll see. Their additions, Candelario, awful. I don't even want to talk about him. Tom Smith, awful. He's playing first base, and he doesn't have any power at all. Like, he sucks. Um, and even the top prospects, like Kyber Ruiz, was kind of disappointing last year. 90 WRC plus. Like he doesn't strike out much, but like he has no pop. He's like a singles merchant. Like he doesn't do anything besides hit singles if he does get on base. And CJ Abrams, top prospect, top 5 prospect. CJ Abrams.
Or CP.
Every year since he got drafted, he's always in the top 10, top 10. And I'm just like, why? Why is he in the top 10? He has no tools besides his speed. Like he reminds me of another Mondesi on the Royals, on the Red Sox now. Just a speedy prospect who they believe has a good enough hit tool to become an everyday player, but he just does not have a good enough hit tool. He has no power. He doesn't put the ball in play enough. He's just fast. He's not even good defensively. He has no tools. And just everyone else, like Luis Garcia was a top prospect for them. He stinks. Robles, another top prospect. He stinks. Like they have no one to look forward to offensively besides Joey Meneses. And even if he is legit, Joey Meneses is like 30 years old. Like they picked him off the streets last year. He was playing, but he was buried in the Mexican League. And even if he is good, where you're gonna build around Joey Meneses? No, you're gonna trade him. So, and starting pitching, the team with top prospects not panning out. Josiah Gray, home run machine. You ask for a home run, he'll give it to you. Patrick Corbin, worst contract. No, my bad. Strasburg. He's hurt again. I feel so bad. He should probably retire, Strasburg. Like, that is actually the worst contract in MLB history, Steven Strasburg. Patrick Corbin, terrible. Mackenzie Gore, another top prospect who hasn't panned out so far. Cavalli, we'll see what he does. I'm not too excited. Trevor Williams, that's cool. But, you know who was a good reliever last year, Sam?
Who?
Hunter Harvey.
That's true. Yeah.
He was a good reliever. It's good to see him.
Just wait for him to get hurt again.
It's good to see him, actually pitch. And he pitched well. But, I mean, who else is there? Carl Edwards Jr.? Are you kidding me? Alex Colomé? Come on. I'm sorry. I'm with you. This is the worst team in baseball.
You were saying it, but I just where are we in the rebuild now? I feel bad if you're a Nats fan. At least you got the World Series in 2019, but
yeah.
Harper's gone. I mean, he was gone before the World Series, but Soto, Trey Turner, everyone's gone, and you're left with nothing. All the prospects you got from all those trades, nothing. You're going to have to rebuild it through the draft. That's going to take time, so Nats are going to suck for a really long time.
There's nothing to look forward to. I feel so bad. I mean, you won the World Series, but all of your prospects are busts, basically. And Cavalli, we'll see what he does, but he has control issues. So, should be a long season for the Nats. Very long season.
I feel like at least the Marlins have been bad for a while, but they've always had a lot of talent, and they always just trade away or fumble it somehow. So there's always that risk. But right now, the Nationals they don't even have the prospects, the blue chip prospects to look forward to. They don't have the Andy Painters and whatnot. And I think that I can only imagine. I feel like they're gonna have a lot of empty seat games. There's nothing there to excite you.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. They're the worst team in baseball. Whatever their over/under win total is, hammer the under. I'm saying it right now. I'll do it. But okay, that's it for the Nationals. Let's talk about the Phillies now, Sam.
Phillies.
The reigning NL champions.
So this team would look a lot different, obviously, if Bryce Harper was playing the full season. But it's still going to be a terrific team. Yeah. So offensively last year, 6th in home runs, 5th in stolen bases. I'm looking at stolen bases a little more this year because we know it's going to go up with the new rule changes. 11th on base, 6th slug, 6th exit velo. And then we're looking at this lineup, and there's a lot of it's very top heavy, but the bottom is still fine. So we're looking Trey Turner, mega deal. I have full confidence in him. even though he may, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. AP, you said you might struggle a little bit without Harper. I'm not sure. Schwarber, not going to be a high average guy, of course, but he's going to hit home runs. 46 last year, probably going to be high 30s this year. Hoskins, we'll see. Realmuto is going to be a top 3 catcher, at least probably top 2. And then I'm expecting a bounce back from Nick Castellanos this year. Still hitting the ball hard, so I think he'll bounce back. Maybe not be the player we once saw him be, but still pretty good. Derek Hall looked good in a small sample size last year. Alec Bohm was my breakout candidate this year. I think he's going to be really good. Dan Palumbo guy. And then Bryson Stott showed promise last year. He was below average, but still showed promise. Brandon Marsh won't be very good, but that's it. That's the 9th guy. And then Harper comes back, and then this lineup's really good. So let's look at the pitching. NL East is a much more starting pitching heavy division compared to AL East. AL East is very bullpen heavy. NL East is very starting pitching heavy. So the Phillies had the 5th most starting pitching wins. They were 12 over 500 in starting pitching wins compared to 0 over in bullpen wins. So we know that's how they're getting the job done. And for years, the bullpen's been so terrible. Last year was actually okay, but they're improving the bullpen, which is improving the team as a whole. Obviously, we're starting pitching with Nola, 3.25 ERA, and you have 2 aces, Nola and then Wheeler, 2.82 ERA. Wheeler's 99th percentile in extension. He's an elite pitcher. He commands the zone, getting swing and miss, still pumping 100, forcing weak contact. Nola is a swing and miss machine. And then, so that's the top 2. Extremely strong top 2. And then the 3, I'm looking at Andrew Painter. We've seen him be electric. Big guy. It was hard. I think he's going to be terrific. Alex, you already called him for Dark Horse Cy Young.
I love him.
I believe in him. So there's a really strong 3. Ranger Suarez, I don't know if he'll be able to repeat it, but I think he'll be somewhat decent, which makes us a pretty solid 4. 3.65 ERA last year. He still has a bit of a walk problem, but it's fine. He's keeping guys off the barrel, and we'll see if he can repeat the success he had last year. And then the 5th guy is Taijuan Walker, who, I mean, I don't love Taijuan Walker, 3.49 ERA, xERA of 4, but he's your 5th guy, and I'll take Taijuan Walker as my 5th guy. So overall, the starting rotation is extremely solid, and then the bullpen is better than it's been in past years. They added some arms with Gregory Soto from the Tigers, Nick Nelson, Bilotti, but they still have Kimbrel. Seranthony Dominguez is an elite reliever. I think he's terrific. So the bullpen's going to hold it down, I think. So this Phillies team is really good, and I think they might start off a little slow, but that second half of the year, they're going to come storming out, and just kind of like they were last year. So I'd watch out for the Phillies this year for sure.
All right, Sam. This is going to be the title of our reel. The Phillies, the state of the Phillies is overrated as fuck. They suck. Okay. All right. Once we got that, the offense. Okay, they have good hitters. I think Harper missing half a year is gonna be so painful because, like, Hoskins, solid hitter. Castellanos, I'm not so sure about bounce back like you are, Sam. But like they literally have 3 black holes in their lineup, and they're supposed to be an NL contender. Boom, black hole. Stott, black hole. Marsh, black hole. Yeah, they are black holes, Sam. Like Stott, I just don't see the potential in him at all. Brandon Marsh, strikeout machine. He's a good defender in center field, but he has shown nothing offensively in the majors so far. And Bohm, like, I already talked about Bohm in the past, but worst defender in baseball, or one of them, and he's a league average bat. He's not a good player. Schwarber had a monster power year last year. He led the NL home runs, but he's getting a year older, and he strikes out a ton. I'm like interested to see if he has the power output he has last year, because if he doesn't, he won't be as good this year. I mean, it's not rocket science. I don't know why I said that, but he's very home run reliant at the moment, Kyle Schwarber, and I'm afraid once that goes away, he doesn't have the contact ability to remain a productive offensive bat. And Trey Turner's gonna be amazing. Hoskins, I already talked about him. He's a good hitter. Like, Phillies fans hate him, but I think Hoskins is really underrated. And Real Muto, best catcher in baseball, in my opinion. It's gonna be Rushman soon, but for now, it's Real Muto, in my opinion. And as for pitching, Nola Wheeler, 2 aces. Suarez, he's a solid pitcher. But like Taijuan Walker, come on. Come on now. And Bailey Falter's gonna be the fifth starter at the moment. Come on now. Like I'm waiting for Andrew Painter to come up and dominate. And let's talk about the bullpen. Mickey Mouse. Gregory Soto, he has good stats, but he walks so many people that he's gonna regress so hard this year. Kimbrel's washed. Dominguez is their only good reliever. Alvarado had a good year last year, but he walks way too many people. He's like a ticking time bomb in my opinion. And other people, Bilotti, Connor Brogdon, like they're not that good. This team is just it's an 81 team. It's just that's how I view it.
I think you're way too low on the Phillies. It's definitely not a 500 team. This team is way better than 500. Yeah, remember they're not going to be playing the Mets and Braves 19 times a year anymore. So you get to play AL Central, teams in the AL West. This division is going to eat a lot of wins over like between all five of them, but especially not all five. Nationals won't, but between especially Braves, Phillies, Mets, and I think the Phillies will be. Some people are way too high on them. Some people are like, oh, they went to World Series last year. They're winning the division. No way. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. But this is still a very solid team. Probably, maybe it's slightly under a 90-win team around there.
FanDuel has them at like 87.5.
Yeah, that's about right. It's fine.
Pretty sure. No, it's just not. You're getting hyped up over Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh. Like Bryson Stott had a 295 OPB and 358 slug last year. Like these aren't good players for a contender.
The issue is you're too low on Bohm. Bohm I think is really good. And so when Bohm is showing out, that it eliminates one black hole and it creates one more really solid hitter. And then you have a lineup of 7, 8 out of 9 really solid hitters. So that's the difference. But we'll see. I mean, we talked about Bohm. I think he's going to break out. But
also, the reason why I'm so low is because Harper's out for literally half the year. He's their heart and soul. Like, I don't know. This team is not good enough to even play 500 ball, in my opinion, without Bryce Harper. Like, Bryce Harper is an MVP player, obviously. Like, he's their best hitter. He's a superstar. And he's missing half the year. And even when he does come back, he's coming off Tommy John. Like, Tommy John, as a hitter, when you get Tommy John, your power, it takes a while for your power to come back.
I think Harper. I think that like without Harper, obviously Harper's their focal. Like he's their leader. He's definitely the focal point of the offense. But I think I overstated Trey Turner is going to have a difficulty. I mean, like I think Trey Turner. Now that I think more about it, Trey Turner with bats protecting him like Schwarber is just going to be fun to watch. So I mean, I don't think they're going to be challenging the Mets or the Braves, but like that offense is going to have some games where they put up double-digit runs in a hurry.
so we should get into standings.
Okay.
AP, you go first.
All right.
Should I say my win projections with them?
If you have it, definitely.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Fifth, I'm gonna go Nationals. I'm gonna go 63 and 99. I think, like we said, roster is pretty abysmal. Won't be fun to watch, and I think especially playing in the NL East. I mean, I'm sure knowing the Mets, they're gonna find a way to lose series to them, which is gonna like make every Mets fan rage. But roster's abysmal. They can't hang with any team in the NL East. So fourth, I'm gonna go Marlins. I don't know what the over/under is on wins for the Marlins, but I actually think they're like a decent team. So I think I'm gonna go with 78 and 84. 90 wins. I think that like Harper. I think any other division, they're probably a 90-win team. But I mean, I know they're not playing 19 anymore. But in the NL East, it's so hard to like even take a series from the Mets or the Braves. And so I think that they're going to go 88. I'm going to go 88 and 74 for them. And then finally, looking at the Braves and the Mets, the two top dogs, I'm going to go Braves in second place. I think that it's going to be down to September for the division. I think that I think the Mets consistently choke, and I think that the Braves are going to scare me all year long. But I think that I think the culture is shifting. Wilpons are always half committed, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They never really committed. Stevie Cohen has, from day one, has shown that he's not the Wilpons. And so I'm going to go 99-63 for the Braves. And then I think that the Mets are going to take the division. And I think that it's finally their year to shine. And I'm looking forward to watching it. And I think that although they may not have like a superstar like offensive player, I think that they're so well rounded. And I think that the pendulum is shifting back a little bit towards more bat to ball skills opposed to like 2 outcome like home run or strikeouts. And I think because of that, I think they're going to go 102-60 and take the division.
Fair.
All right, I can go next, Sam. So my 5th place team is the Nationals. It's simple. They don't have any major league players. So how can you not be last if your best player is Joey Meneses, a 30-year-old from the Mexican League? 4th, I got the Marlins. Their pitching is obviously going to be very good, but the offense, not enough power, in my opinion. They did add major league bats like Segura and Arise, but they don't move the needle enough for me to put them ahead of the top 3. My 3rd place team is the Phillies. I think, well, I talked about them before. I think they're overrated, but they're still good enough to finish 3rd in this division. I think losing Harper is a big blow that people won't really understand or like can really process until the season begins and they realize that Alec Boehm is trash. And 2nd, I got the Mets. Okay, so I got the Mets, and 1st place I got the Braves. I just think the Braves are just a more well-rounded team compared to the Mets. They have the better offense. They have the better bullpen, and their starting pitching is very comparable in my opinion. I think the 3, 4, and 5s for the Braves outshines the 3, 4, and 5s for the Mets. But even then, I think the offense is just much better than the Mets, and the bullpen is much better than the Mets as well. So I think they're just more well-rounded, which is why I think they're going to win the division again for the 6th straight year. But the Mets are going to be a playoff team. They're going to host a wild card series. Like, it's still going to be a good season for them, but I just can't see them overtaking the Braves just yet.
All right, so for my NL East, I got 5th, I got the Nationals. This is just a terrible team. They have no offense. The pitching, this team might be worst offensively and pitching-wise in all baseball. Like, both sides. And that's rare to see. And then bullpen's terrible. AP, you said 63 wins or something like that. I think it's way under that. This team might be an under 50-win team, in my opinion. And then we're going 4th. I'm going the Marlins. I like the Marlins. I think the pitching. I love pitching. Love watching Marlins pitching, but the offense just isn't good enough to take the next step. So they're 4th for me. And then I have Phillies 3rd. I still think Phillies are a really good team, but they're just not good enough to battle it out with the Mets and Braves. So Phillies are 3rd, but you should watch out when Harper comes back. I think this is a very good team. And then Mets, I have it 2. I just don't. The difference between the Mets and Braves is very thin, but I just that 4-5 in the rotation is concerning for the Mets. I think the Braves are better there. And then still a very good lineup for the Mets, but like you said, Alex, I like the Braves lineup just a little bit more. And I like the bullpen a little more. So Mets at 2, and then like I just said, I have the Braves winning the NL East because I just think they're might be the best team in baseball this year. Very good team.
The Braves win the division. That's going to break my heart. I feel like if I wasn't a Mets fan, I might put the Braves first, but like feel obligated to.
It's not bad. It's not like
I can see it happening.
The Marlins to win the division. It's a fair pick for sure.
I mean, like the Mets on paper, like they're so good, but like every single I don't want to get too high on them because like throughout my lifetime they just break my heart every single year. So
it's a good team. The Mets have a good team.
It is a good team.
Really fun.
I'm sure they're gonna find a way to like someone's gonna get hurt and then like they're gonna trade for a big guy at the deadline and he's gonna absolutely suck. Like they always find a way to just mess it up.
At least you don't have DeGrom getting hurt anymore. You can get hurt on the Rangers. So
yeah, good riddance for DeGrom.
All right, is that it for episode 7?
Is that it? I think that's it.
Okay, what's
Thank you,
next week,
guys.
Sam?
So that's yeah. Thank you, AP. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you.
I spent the whole episode, so
It was an honor.
and then so this is episode 7, NL East. Next week we got NL Central, another guest coming on,
Another guess.
another former teammate.
Who?
Like I said, then off the statement said,
surprised. Oh, I'm gonna have to tune in then.
yeah, and then yeah, so that's NL Central next week. That's it for today. Keep humming, baby. Let's go.
Keep humming. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.